What's up everyone, welcome back to my channel, the best place to learn how to get visible using social media and get paid using business strategy. Now in today's video, I am doing something super different. My social media manager has been begging me to do a video like this, and that is reacting to TikToks that share Instagram strategy, growth hacks, and all the likes of that. Now over on my YouTube channel, I have done hundreds of videos about Instagram growth, and these videos are long. They're like 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and each video has like tons of tips. But nowadays, it almost seems like people are shifting towards even shorter and shorter pieces of content, and I am surprised that people can pack these tips in just 15 seconds. And so that's why in today's video, I really want to start reacting to the things that you guys might be watching on TikTok and sharing my commentary, whether or not I agree or disagree with some of these tips. So if you're interested in that, then keep on watching. All right, so I have a list of TikToks here that my social media manager shortlisted. And so let's take a look at the first one.
How to grow your Instagram account. Share post stories. Add these hashtags. Add a popular location. Hide behind photo. Results.
Oh, wow.
How to grow your
Okay, so already a few questions I have is whether or not putting hashtags in your stories is still something that is relevant or works, and also whether or not putting your location in your stories still work, because I'm pretty sure it doesn't work anymore. I used to actually share this hack as well, whether it was through Instagram or through my YouTube channel, but I stopped sharing it for a reason, and it was because I started to doubt whether or not it actually still worked in this day and age. I know there was a time period where it really did work, but now I'm thinking that it might not anymore. So let's actually fact check this and go into Instagram, and let's go into tags and search up maybe one of the most popular tags that exist. I'm gonna use the tag girl boss. As you can see, and my hypothesis is correct, you actually can't really see any stories anymore. And let's say if you're like, hey Vanessa, maybe it's just that tag called girl boss, we can do something else like mom. You know, a lot of people are using this tag. If you go into mom, also, like, you can't really see any stories that are tagged with that tag anymore. Even if we go to places, one of the places that she had mentioned, I think, was New York. So let's go into the New York tag and see if anyone actually, yeah. As you can see, you can't see any stories with that tag. And so although this strategy did work maybe last year, I don't necessarily think it works anymore. And therefore, I don't agree with this strategy. And I think that if you are still adding hashtags to your stories, putting the time and effort to put a location, hide it underneath your photo, or maybe even like zooming it, making it super small, I think that might be a waste of time to your workflow. And there are better strategies that exist to help you increase visibility to your posts. All right, now let's move on to the second TikTok on the list.
Here's how you're gonna blow up on Instagram this summer. This method has been getting people thousands of followers every single month. All you have to do is post 5 reels per week, 3 feed posts per week, 5 to 10 stories per day. The first story of the day has to have your face in it, and 20% of those stories need to be interactive, and that is it. This method is literally worth thousands of dollars. Go follow me for more tips and tricks on how to make a full-time income all online. Here's how you're gonna blow up on Instagram this.
All right, so already my first impression is if you are someone who is starting out on social media, this strategy is probably gonna be super overwhelming for you, because what she's essentially saying is your workflow, it needs to be 5 reels per week. So that is essentially 1 reel per day, Monday to Friday. You gotta do 3 posts per week as well. So you're actually posting more than once per week, 5 to 10 stories per day. And then your first story has to have your face on it. I'm not sure why. And then 20 of those stories need to be interactive. So I'm assuming interactive being using polls, using quizzes, asking people to DM you. You know, that to me is what makes a story interactive, or you actually like talking in your stories and telling people what they think by leaving a comment or a DM or something like that, using the questions feature, things like that. That is what I think an interactive story means. And so my impression of this strategy is that it will probably work to get you more followers. And the reason why I say this is because even for me, I started to increase the amount of times that I post. So we actually started experimenting with posting 2 to 3 times a day, Monday, to Friday. And even though when we post, we don't necessarily see a lift in engagement, we actually see less engagement than usual, we actually saw a huge increase in follower growth. And so, for instance, when we started this strategy, we were starting off at 191,000 followers on my account. And by the end of the week on the Friday, we are now at 195,000 followers. So within just 1 week, we increased our follower base by 4,000. Usually we grow at about 1,000 followers per week. So if we were still doing one post per day, it would just be maybe an increase of 191 to 192, but we actually saw an increase of 191 to 195 simply because we posted more. And we're actually posting more than what this person is saying. So I do agree that increasing the post frequency will work. All right, guys, so it is now Sunday, 2 days after recording this video that you're watching right now, and I wanted to give you guys an update. My account is now at 200,000 followers, which means in less than 7 days of implementing this strategy where I post more Instagram Reels and post them multiple times a day, I've gained a little less than 10,000 followers in less than 7 days. This is unheard of, and so I just wanted to share this update with you to really show you how powerful posting more Instagram Reels can be, at least right now in this day and age. Now, with her thing about feed posts per week, I honestly think that you could probably get away with just focusing on Instagram Reels, especially if you're someone who's starting out and you don't necessarily have the capacity to do both Instagram Reels and feed posts. I would focus on Instagram Reels, but if you do want to have a blend of content and have more content that kind of pleases everyone, regardless of whether they're interested in Reels, maybe they're interested in feed posts, maybe they're interested in IGTVs. It's good to diversify your content. And I do like how this strategy does have that diversity. And it's actually very similar to something that I do on my account. Now, when it comes to the stories, posting 5 to 10 stories per day, I don't necessarily think that there is a limit in terms of stories that you should do. I definitely do think that you shouldn't be posting 50 stories per day, or you shouldn't just be posting 1 story per day. So I think the reason why she chose 5 to 10 is that it is just a good balance between not necessarily overwhelming your audience, but showing up enough for people to stay engaged with your story. So I do think that this is a good strategy. Now, when it comes to your first story needing to have your face in it, I don't necessarily agree with that. I think if any part of the stories has your face in it, it's already going to be great. And the reason why is because I think that her intention of saying this is the fact that if you have your face in the first story, then people are going to see your face and keep clicking. But at the end of the day, Instagram, it's going to expire your stories after 24 hours. So once that story expires, the next story is not going to be your face. So I don't necessarily think it makes a difference. But what I do think will make a difference is if you periodically do show your face on stories to create that connection with your audience. People have a tendency to view or react better to stories that do show your face versus just static stories of you resharing posts. And I have definitely seen that on my account where anytime I physically show up, and that is why my day in the life series on my stories do so well. They get so much engagement, they get so many views versus my regular stories where I'm just resharing or posting content or posting text. Those generally get less views than usual. So I do think that this strategy makes a lot of sense. All right, now we're gonna move on to the third video that we're gonna watch together.
I'm gonna teach you exactly what I put when I post on Instagram. This is part 5 of how I create content, by the way. These are the photos that I picked, and now I'm gonna write the caption, main character energy.
Okay, already I'm gonna say that if you have a business, if you sell a service, sell a product, if you're monetizing in any way, I do believe that having a caption like this is great, especially if you're an influencer and you're in fashion. But at the same time, for my audience base, which most of you guys have businesses or all of that and sell your own products, this is a really good opportunity for you to actually write something that's a little bit more interactive, a little bit more engaging, maybe sharing some value, sharing a story. You know, I don't agree necessarily with writing too long of a caption, but not necessarily being thoughtful with your captions and having a call to action within your caption can be a missed opportunity for a lot of people.
And a little emoji. And then I tag all the fashion accounts that I'm wearing. And then as well, I tag like Los Angeles because that's where I'm from, aesthetic fits to see if I'm...
Okay, already this strategy, I think it does make sense for this particular account, especially if she is an influencer and she wants to be an influencer and she's tagging the clothes that she's wearing. I think that is absolutely okay, as well as tagging bigger accounts. However, I will precaution and just say that be mindful of who you're tagging and how many times you're tagging them. I know even for me, I get tagged in people's posts a lot because they think that they're going to be able to get more reach because they've tagged my account. But you also have to remember and be mindful that, especially if you're tagging people, it's a very easy way to get blocked as well. And so you definitely want to be careful if you are overly tagging a specific person over and over again. You can get blocked, and you can also burn bridges within your industry as well. So just be careful of that.
Featured kind of those inspirational accounts so that if they see me, then they might tag me, or their followers might find me through their tagged pictures. So yeah, these are ones I tag. These are my hashtags that I use. I don't really have a method. I just kind of...
Okay, already I just quickly looked at her hashtags, and what she said really caught me off guard, which is she doesn't really have a method, and she just kind of like takes from other people. Now, that's a really good lazy strategy. I'm not necessarily calling her lazy. I'm just more so saying that I see a lot of people doing this. I see a lot of people, let's say, take hashtags from other people because they think that it's gonna work for them. But you also really wanna consider whether or not those hashtags are gonna work for your specific niche, and also whether or not it's gonna work for your account size. If you are taking hashtags from a bigger account, their hashtag strategy is gonna look very different from your hashtag strategy. For example, for me, I have 195,000 followers. I'm at a place where there's times where I don't even put hashtags and my post will still perform because I have that I have that credibility built up with Instagram. Bigger accounts, bigger reach, bigger following, more likely to get more likes, more likely to get more comments. That's just how social media works. However, if you are trying to copy someone else's strategy without identifying whether or not it's gonna work for you, you could be wasting a lot of time because a hashtag strategy specifically, or any type of strategy for a smaller account is gonna look different for a bigger account. You're gonna have different needs. You might benefit more from choosing niche hashtags or having a diversified hashtag strategy. So I definitely do not recommend just taking what you think is gonna work for you and not necessarily digging deeper and doing the work for yourself.
Pick up from other people, and then I post an emoji in my own picture, and then I reply to that with the hashtags, and that's...
Okay, so already, number one is I don't necessarily understand why you would want to put an emoji in your own post, because especially if it's just one emoji, Instagram's gonna look at that and not necessarily think it is a high quality comment. A lot of times the engagement is measured by how high quality the comments are. So if most of the comments in your post are cute emojis, Instagram's gonna think those are bots and not necessarily think that your post is valuable in the algorithm. Not only this, one thing I'm noticing is that she's putting her hashtags in her comment section. And one thing that even Instagram creators account has said is that they post posts with the hashtags specifically in the post itself and not in the comments section. And so you definitely want to make sure, if you are employing a hashtag strategy, that you're not putting it in the comments and you're actually slotting it into the post, the feed post itself, if that makes sense. Or the caption itself, that's a better word for it. All right, now let's look at the fourth TikTok.
Oh shit, here we go again.
Oh no. Okay, so already my impression right off the bat is these are not the hashtags that you're gonna want to use.
Go babies, go babies, go babies, go babies.
Okay, so as you can see, and the reason why my initial impression is already like that is that these are hashtags that are going to attract a lot of bots, and it's gonna attract the wrong people. So specifically, discover under 10K, discover under 5K, discover under 1K. These are the type of hashtags that bots target because they know a lot of people, specifically beginners, are using these hashtags to grow, and you might get engagement, but it's going to be spam engagement. So you want to be careful with anything that's like for like, or discover under 10K. These are kind of the sketchier hashtags. And then the other hashtags that I see here: outfit of the day babe, outfit inspiration, outfit inspo. I can almost guarantee that these hashtags have a lot of competition. I know so many influencers that use outfit inspo, outfit of the day. And so kind of like what I was saying before, if you are a smaller account, or even if you're a bigger account, but specifically if you are a smaller account, these hashtags are not necessarily gonna work for you because they're way too competitive. If you use these hashtags, you're gonna get drowned out by all the other posts that also use this hashtag. So I highly recommend that you guys watch this video that I have right here about hashtags. I kind of give you a guideline on what hashtag sizes to use, or better yet, you should definitely download this guide that I have. I have a specific page dedicated to hashtag strategy and also other strategies to help you set a solid foundation for your account. Link is in the description or in the comment section below. But definitely for these hashtags, I would not recommend them specifically if you're a small account, but these are also the main hashtags that attract a lot of bots. All right, let's look at the 5th TikTok.
Instagram update, it's been 2 days and we've gained 100 followers, and I will say I've been slacking. Here are a couple of tips I've gathered so far. Number 1, post an interactive story with your face in it first thing
This is the 2nd time that we're getting this tip. I don't understand this.
in the morning every single day. I did this and my story engagement more than quadrupled overnight. Another important word of advice, photos where you can clearly see my face are getting nearly double the engagement of photos where you can't.
I agree with this tip to a degree.
Moral of the story, people want to see your face on Instagram. Instagram update.
All right, so again, I don't really understand why people keep saying that your first story needs to have your face in it, especially if Instagram stories expires after 24 hours. So even if your Instagram story, the first one is your face, and the second one isn't your face, the first story is always going to expire and then it's going to bump up the rest of your story. So I don't necessarily understand this, but I do understand it if you are starting off on like a clean slate and you want your story to captivate people to keep clicking. That I understand. So I do agree that, let's say if you haven't posted your stories in a long time, or maybe some of your stories are very close to expiring, I can see the purpose of wanting to show your face first, because a lot of times, and even what I notice in my stories, is if I post, a bunch of things that don't have my face in it, or promotional content or whatever else, the stories after that do have a decrease in views, especially if they're posted very close together. So the reason being, if people see that it's like promotional, they're like really less incentivized to keep clicking, and that's gonna affect the rest of your stories. I think the second thing she said was just about showing your face, and especially in your posts. I do agree that what I've noticed is that pictures that have myself in it do get more likes and comments. However, they don't get as many saves or shares, because at the end of the day, people don't necessarily want to share a photo of you, especially if there's no carousel behind it or there's no engaging caption around it. And so that's why in a lot of my videos, I talk about the photo bait method, where I actually use a photo of myself to hook my audience to stop the scroll. But once they're there, I tell them to swipe through it, and that's where a lot of the value is given. And so if they want to share that second slide of my carousel or the third slide of my carousel to their audience, they absolutely can. And so I agree with her, but at the same time, you don't necessarily want every single piece of content to have your face on it, especially if it's not value driven. And that's why a lot of my content shares about diversifying your content, having content that shows your face to get engagement, but also having content like carousel posts, quote posts to get more sales, especially if you're a business owner, and also having reels as a way to actually increase your reach. And so the bottom line is that when you're crafting your Instagram strategy, you definitely want to make sure that you assign a goal to each content piece. So I know for a fact that my quote posts and my carousel posts are really meant to nurture and build trust with my audience, versus my reels, which is me dancing, doing funny things. That's a really great way for me to get traffic. And you have to remember that content that gets traffic and content that nurtures sometimes are two different things. And so you want to be mindful of that when you're creating your content strategy on Instagram. All right, let's look at the next video.
How to gain followers on Instagram. Switch to a business account. Click Insights. Go to Audience. Scroll to the bottom. Find your audience peak active time. Post on peak time. My results. How to gain...
Yes, so I am loving the fact that this is data driven. A lot of people, I don't know if they still are scared to switch over to a business account. I think a business account is the best thing that you could possibly do. I don't even know what the point is of having a personal account other than putting your profile on private, which I know many of you guys aren't doing because you guys are here and you want to grow your accounts. But I do want to say that having a creator account is also very beneficial. I know when creator account first launched, I did a video about it and I wasn't sure about it, and that was years back. But now I think even I have a creator account. And the reason why I do have a creator account, and I do think having a creator account is very helpful, is you get pretty much the same insights that you would get on a business profile, but you also get access to the full music library on Instagram Reels, on Stories. And so if you're someone who does not have access to music right now on Stories or on IG Reels, you don't have the full library, try switching to a creator's account and you might get access to everything. So just try that and comment below and let me know if it worked. But essentially what I'm trying to say is that Business account, creator account, I definitely recommend it. The only downside of having a creator account from what I understand is that if you use something like Later or Unum or Planoly, I believe their API is only specific to business accounts, so it's gonna be very hard for you to schedule content. But if you use something like Content Creator Studio on Facebook or on like Facebook and Instagram are the same company, but if you use it on Facebook, you're gonna be able to still schedule your posts even if you have a creator account. So that's one thing I wanna say. Now, the next thing I want to say is basically her way of showing the analytics. 100% agree that a lot of your decisions should be based on Instagram analytics. I really don't understand why people buy apps that tell them when to post when Instagram has all the information for you. I know for me, I post at 9 a.m., 12 p.m., and 5 p.m., I believe, because those are the top times that people are active for my profile. And the reason why I do this is because that's what Instagram is telling me about my audience. And again, just because I say that what works for me is posting at 9 a.m. in the morning, 12 p.m. and 5 p.m., you definitely don't want to follow my strategy because it's unique to my audience. And that is kind of the theme here, is that a lot of these things you have to take with a grain of salt, with looking at someone's hashtag, with looking at how someone, does their post schedule, looking at their stuff. At the end of the day, you have to understand what works for your account. And by accessing your analytics, that is the number one way that you're going to get closer to finding that truth for your account and optimizing your strategy. Now, a second thing that I want to add on to her tip, and that is with analytics, a lot of us, we look at the insights only, but one of the best features is looking at your post itself and actually understanding what is working for your account. So for example, you can go into your insights and actually look at your posts that you've done, whether that's stories, feed posts, whatever else, and actually see and filter which ones got the most reach, which ones got the most clicks, which ones got the most likes, and you're gonna be able to actually optimize your strategy from there and identify which content pieces are getting you the most profile visits, which content pieces are getting you the most likes. And that way you're able to set goals for your content pieces and reverse engineer what you want. Another really helpful insight, other than looking at when your audience is active on Instagram and maneuvering your strategy around that, is actually seeing what types of content are performing the best in terms of reach. Now on my account, and for many of you who do have an Instagram Reels strategy, it's pretty much always going to be Instagram Reels, which allowed me to understand, it isn't just hype. This is real, and I'm going to, maneuver my strategy to implement more Instagram Reels because the analytics does not lie, and it's telling me that it's what's working on my account right now. Now for you, when you open up your Instagram account, especially after you've done Instagram Reels, maybe you find that Instagram Reels are not giving you the reach that you want and feed posts are. Then you're gonna optimize your strategy and do more feed posts instead. And so I 100% agree with what I just watched. You definitely wanna lean into your analytics to make sure you have the best strategy for your account. Now let's look at the next video.
This is how I was able to grow over 10,000 followers on Instagram. Instagram is now pushing out people who use all of their new tools. So that's Instagram Live, IGTV.
I 100% agree with this. I think that one of the most strategic moves is understanding what these software companies, meaning YouTube, Instagram, Facebook and Instagram are together, but what they're prioritizing. Whatever they're prioritizing is what they're pushing. So especially if we know that Instagram is trying to be the new TikTok, that literally tells you that you should focus on Instagram Reels. And a lot of these software companies, they want their new features to do well. And the way that they incentivize users is by pushing these features on the algorithm, very similar to what they're doing with Instagram Reels right now.
TV, IG Reels, and IG Guides. You need to be using all of Instagram's new features. Next, you want to make sure that you're posting shareable content. You want to be posting content that educates, inspires, and also entertains. You want to be posting at least once a day, whether that's an Instagram Reel, Instagram post, and even to your story as well. Follow me for more Instagram tips and advice.
Yes, I completely agree with her. And I like how what she says isn't super intense, kind of like what we saw earlier with do 5 reels, do all of this, do all of that. At the heart of it, what she's trying to say, or what I got from it, is be consistent. Post daily and post something that's gonna give value or entertain your audience. I know a lot of you guys are like, hey, I don't wanna be teaching stuff every single post, and you don't have to. Some of your content can be super entertaining. For me, I do funny stuff on Instagram Reels, and that's my outlet to be silly, but I also have carousel posts that allow me to actually add value and teach people and inspire people as well. And so you definitely want to diversify it. I also 100% agree with just focusing on the features that Instagram is prioritizing, and again, leaning on your analytics to see if it's actually making a difference. And so I do agree with everything that she's saying, and I think that is a more holistic approach to approaching social media, and I think this is a really beginner-friendly variation of the earlier TikTok that we saw, which was super intense, posting multiple times a day. I definitely do believe that when you are starting out, one of the main things that you want to focus on is getting into the habit of staying consistent. Don't care about the vanity metrics as much. Don't care about, all the frills and all the bells and whistles. Just focus on training your habits. Train yourself to be able to show up on stories on a daily basis. Train yourself to post at least 2 to 3 times a week. The goal is not vanity metrics. The goal is not getting more followers, at least for maybe the first 3 months. The goal is for you to be consistent, and then you're gonna be able to ramp up. I know when I started, I was posting once a week. And then once I got comfortable, once I actually understood the system, what worked, what didn't work for me personally, not just strategy, but for me personally, I was then able to ramp up to 2 to 3 times a week. And then afterwards, after I identified what worked, what didn't work, again, figuring out what really worked for me in my lifestyle and what I was missing, which for me was hiring a social media manager, then I was able to ramp up to 5 times a week. And then from there, I was able to identify what in my workflow needs to be, needs to be removed in order for me to increase my frequency. For me, I found out exactly what I needed to delegate, and now we're able to post more times, multiple times per day. But this took me 3 years. And so it's really unfortunate if you are comparing yourself to me or to someone like Gary Vee or someone like these people on TikTok who have maybe a lot more time or a lot more support to be able to post that much. But for you, if you're in school, if you're doing this part-time, it's gonna be really hard. And so that's why I do believe that when you're starting out, focus on consistency first, figure out what workflow works best for you, figure out what schedule works best for you, figure out what types of content pieces work well for you, and from there, create a workflow around it and batch content if needed, and then start ramping up. And at any point when you ramp up, there are gonna be times where you're like, oh my gosh, this is way too much, we gotta scale back, then scale back. I don't believe that this is gonna be something that you have to go 0 to 100 on. I know that there's a lot of urgency to want to blow up your socials, but nothing is gonna blow up if you do not prioritize your mental health and find a system that works for you and find a strategy that works for you. And so that being said, I hope that me reacting to this TikToks was fun and entertaining for you. It definitely was for me, just seeing the different tips that exist out there. And if you want me to react to more things on this channel, definitely let me know by liking this video. So in the future, I'll do more content exactly like this one. Now, one thing that I think is really cool by just doing this video alone is seeing how there are so many people that are able to make a living using social media, grow their socials, and how so many of these things and these strategies are available right at our fingertips. And so I want you to hit the notification bell, because in my next video, I'm actually gonna share some tips when it comes to being a full-time content creator. Now, I have been full-time for 3 years now. I feel like I have a lot of mistakes that I've made, a lot of words of wisdom that I can share with you before you decide to go full-time or how to go full-time. And so hit the notification bell, because in my next video, I'm gonna talk all about it. Not only this, if you haven't already, make sure you download this guide by clicking on the link in my description box or in my comment section below. It basically has all of my top tips for Instagram consolidated in this PDF. As always, I post a lot of content on social media, marketing, and entrepreneurship, so make sure you watch these 2 videos that I have right here as well. I promise they will not disappoint. As always, guys, I appreciate you. I hope you guys have a great day, a great week, and a great life, and I will see you in the next video. Bye, guys.